Okay, good morning, everybody. And thank you for being with us. My name is Rochelle Essery. I'm a director at Gamewell, and this is session 6 of the Claims Encounters and Financial System Demonstration for the state of Maine. And if you just go to the next slide, Maria, we're scheduled today for 9 to 10:30, which should be plenty of time. And we've had one session before, and so we're having a sort of another session to cover all of your questions that you might have and make sure that we really are hitting the mark on what the upgrade means for prior authorization and how the system would change from Health Pass 4.8 to the new CEF version. And we're going to be covering a slide, Angela will, on what does the upgrade really mean? Where would you do your work after the upgrade? Would that be an administrator? Would that be in View 360, which is the new user interface? So that's where we're going to kind of start this morning. But we'll go from now until 10:30. And please, just a reminder to complete the survey. The link is there. If you have trouble accessing it, reach out to Rick or Roger. And then also, we want this to be really interactive so that we get all of your questions and make sure that we answer those. So you can do 3 ways: either just put your question in the chat, I'll give you a thumbs up that we got it, or you can, and just interject, and then we'll answer your question. If there are any questions that we can't answer, we're going to put those into a parking lot. We've collected a lot of questions so far, and we're going to be providing all those answers in a written response and provide that to OMS management, and they'll get that out to you. Okay, so thank you so much. It's like Rick said, it's great to see such a big group, and please ask questions. And Angela, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Davis, and I'm a Principal Solutions Architect with Gamewell. And as Rochelle said, I'm going to take a little time this morning to walk through the View 360 authorization functionality and hopefully address any questions you have or anything you see, any clarifications you need. But before we jump into the demo, we want to just take a moment. We're calling this the level set slide for expectations because we know what we're showing you is different than what you're used to. So what you can see in this graphic is that many of the components that you use today are going to stay the same. So you're going to continue to use a lot of the things that you use today. You'll use the IVR will remain in place for providers and members. The online portal will stay in place for providers and members and some of your other trading partners. You'll still have access to the SharePoint portal as you do today. Unique to Auth is your create stub process. That's also unique to the state of Maine. That will remain the same. And then you're going to continue to use Process Manager too for parts of your solution. So what will change is that instead of going into Administrator or what you call QNext or Health Pass today, you're going to start using the application we call View 360, which it'll be your login point to start your work. And that's what we're going to focus on in the demonstration today. So View 360, before we take a look at it, for those of you that have not seen it, it was developed by subject matter experts and some system architects who know the system really well to bring a user interface experience that sits on top of, we keep saying sits on top of administrator. And basically what that does is provide a single place to access a lot of things, fewer clicks, better searches, some filters, and basically a complete display of your data on single screens where we can, but definitely in a much user-friendlier. Yes?
I'm sorry, Kim has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do. I just had a comment in that I know this is your everyday work and you're well versed in this language, but I wanted to say that I am not. I'm a registered nurse and I do have to use the system to do my work, and I don't understand a lot of the terms that you're talking about. So I just would like to ask that you just slow down and talk a little bit more in everyday language about some of this that you're trying to tell us about.
Okay, so help me out a little bit. Well, which pieces are confusing when we talk about the components of the solution you use today? So today, when you go to work, you're using Process Manager, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you also use well, we call Administrator. I think you all call it QNext right now.
Right. See, I didn't
Okay,
understand what you meant by administrator. So,
okay,
okay, that clears that up.
great. So yeah, the terms health pass and the term QNext, those are trademark names for a product we use that we now call administrator. You'll also hear it referred to now as the rules engine because it's really the system that does all the work. So what we've done is developed what we're calling View 360. So that's the new user interface that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. But um, basically what that is it's just a pretty picture. It's a pretty front end you interact with that is sitting on top of administrator. So it doesn't do anything itself except display information for you, filter. There's tasks you can complete, but the work is actually being done in the rules engine or QNext. So none of that's changed. You'll still have access to QNext as well. There is a link from View 360 into that application for those that need it or have permissions to do so. So I think it'll make a lot more sense when we walk through it. But basically, what we're trying to say here is that not a lot changes except what you view, what you see when you first log in and your access point. Um, and then in the back end, behind what you're doing, is all the stuff that was happening before. It just looks a little bit different. So that's kind of what we were hoping to this. I know there's a lot of information on this slide. So basically, the reasons why we're doing that is to make things easier for the end user. It's also a 508 compliance system, which is important to those of you who know what 508 compliance means. Um, it's a compliant solution. So now what will continue to happen is your Gainwell team in Maine that does your configuration, so your config analysts, they're going to continue to do what they do um, in the rules engine, so in what we're calling administrator. That work does not happen in View 360 because View 360 is a user interface for end users. So that'll still happen in that solution. And like I said, you'll still have access to that as well. So we're hoping what that provides for you is just a more efficient and easier way to do what you do today. So that's any questions on that? I can't see the chat very well while I'm doing this. So
But there, Kim, did that answer your question, or are there other pieces that you wanted us to talk about?
It's just a lot to take in, and I just wanted to just have a word out to bring it down
yeah,
to more of our level. We're not IT people.
nope, I get
We're
it.
uh healthcare people.
Yep.
So what is interactive voice response?
It's a system you have in place today where providers and members call in to a phone number and they're prompted. It's like when you call your credit card company, same thing. And they say enter your account number and then you can speak or you can key the numbers. Anyway, it's the same way for members and providers to contact you all through different processes and interact with voice prompts on a phone.
I would doubt that the PA team probably uses that very much,
Yep,
or
maybe
the
not.
SharePoint portal.
No, you're
Probably
not
not
using
used.
it as well. Okay.
Yeah, Kim, there's going to be some stuff on here that we're probably not going to need to use at all. Right now, she's just explaining some of the stuff that it can do before getting into more specifics for us.
Yep,
Okay.
we're gonna dive into exactly what you do. And I'm really hoping that during the demo, you feel interactive, like you did, raise your hand, ask a question. We can certainly slow things down or repeat things that you'd like to see, not a problem at all. So we're gonna get through a couple of slides here and then we're gonna jump into the demo, and I think that's what's gonna make a big difference for you. So I think we're ready for the next slide, Maria. Maria's driving today. So here, give me just a second. My screen's a little funky. There we go. So what in View 360, what we're going to provide for you is, like I said before, the ability to search with a more robust search, sometimes multi-level search rather than one piece of data at a time, where you can view, add, and work authorizations. I know in the previous demo, some of the feedback we got was, well, we don't add authorizations. You're right, you don't. Case management team may, that's part of their desk level procedure. So we wanted to cover it, but we'll focus today on some of the things. We did have a
Angela?
pre-meeting. Yes.
Sorry, Kim has a question.
Okay.
Oh, Kim,
I
you're on
can't
mute.
hear Kim.
We do have to occasionally create PAs for
Okay.
a variety of reasons. So we call it a backwards PA, right,
Okay.
team? Right, occasionally have to do those.
I did see that in your DLP. Now we did cover that in depth in session 2. That recording is available for you to watch. If we have a chance today, I can create a quick PA with you. Probably nothing as specific or in detail as you all do, but we'll do a quick and easy one in the system so you can see that happen. All right, so View 360 supports medical, dental, and pharmacy authorizations. It's going to give you, like, again, those expanded search capabilities. I think you'll like. One of the things in QNX that isn't that friendly is that you have to search and then maybe refine the search and search again. In this View 360 app, what we've done is giving you a chance to put in multiple different data elements and search one time. There's also work queues in there that are very efficient for work management. At this point, I can tell you what the system capability is in terms of what you do in Process Manager versus what you do in View. That's going to be something that you'll determine or will be determined as a team for best practice work for you guys. Some of the features that we can show you today are that you can create a search and then save that search for yourself if it's something that you do over and over, or as a team, if you decide that there's a search that works for a particular process, you can save it as a community search, and then all you have to do is just click that, load the table, and run the query. So you don't have to redevelop your search each time. So the work queues support complete views, so you have your events and your authorizations that are pending. Anything was routed for your review in a single screen. So you can see due dates on those. You can jump into where you need to. There is a supervisor quick view. We covered that in session 2. We may get a chance to look at it today for just a minute. And then I know you aren't doing dental predeterminations in Maine right now. I understand you're doing those as authorizations. But if at some point you do, there is a link to create and work dental predeterminations from the authorization tile as well. All right, Maria, we can move forward. So here's some efficiencies. For those of you that do create authorizations, that 18-step authorization wizard is going away. So you won't have to do that anymore. It's a much more streamlined and easier to manage process. Again, with the searches, common searches, you can re-execute what you've already done. So once you've set it up, it's yours forever. We have that supervisor overview that allows for efficient work assignment and management of the queues. And then we have in all of the View 360 screens, well, not all, most, there is a recent active records panel at the bottom of the screen that allows you a one-click back into, let's say you're working in Auth and you have to do some work or get some information. From that screen, you just click it and you're back to where you left off. So that's a pretty handy feature. Much less keying in terms of entering auth numbers and that sort of thing. And I think we can move to the next slide. So we didn't have a lot of questions submitted by the team prior to this session, but we did have a chance to meet with Luke. And although these weren't specific questions in our dialogue, we kind of pulled out some of these things. So we're going to focus on today. We talked a little bit about View 360 and the solution and what that is, and how Process Manager remains part of your solution and how you use that will sort of be determined by best practice solution for you as you move forward. Then we want to demonstrate the work queue filters and searches, so you can see how those work. We're going to demonstrate updating and editing a prior authorization and how that interacts with claims. We're going to talk about approvals and denials. I know that's a lot of what you do. We're going to demonstrate the link to View 360 from View 360, excuse me, to the letter manager out to Syncom Eloquence, where you can attach or create letters. And then I can show you the member pop out where you do your eligibility validations or verifications and your benefit search. So those are the things we plan to cover, but this is interactive. So if you want to see something, raise your hand or shout out, whatever it takes, and we'll do our best to show you that this morning. All right, I think we're ready to move forward. And for me, that means I'm going to share my screen here. Give me just
So
a
as
second.
As Angela pulls this up, you're going to start in view 360, right?
I am.
Okay, so she's going to be showing the new user interface called View 360 that has a lot of tabs across it. So multiple different business functional groups like finance, claims, provider member can do their work in View 360. And she's going to show you the prior authorization piece. So QNext, so this sits on top of QNext, and it has real-time feeds. So anything that's put into QNext, also real-time feeds into View 360 so that the data matches at all times.
That's a good point. Thank you, Rochelle. And that's vice versa. So anything you do in View 360 is also updating an administrator. So those things are happening back and forth real time. Okay, so if y'all can see my screen, I am at the View 360 homepage. We get a pop-up here because I'm in a demonstration environment. That is important for you to remember today. So I don't have any main specific configuration in this environment. Basically, what I have here is very general demonstration stuff. It doesn't always match up to what you do, but you'll get the idea. So this is fictitious information. Everything you see in here is made up. All right, so
Can everybody see the screen or do we need to make it bigger?
is it not big?
I just make sure everybody can see.
Oh, okay.
Kim has a
Yeah.
question about when is the go live date. Kim, we're still talking to OMS management about that and looking to see if the upgrade will move forward and then talk about timelines.
We ready to get going? As you can
Looks
see
like it.
along the top here, I just selected the authorization. We call these tiles along the top. These are different work areas in the system. We're going to focus on auth today. So I click that tile and it's going to bring me to this authorization screen. And I'll give you a minute to take a look while I talk just briefly. What we see here is your search bar or search window, excuse me. There's quite a few pieces of data element you can search by here. And at the bottom of the screen, we see that recent records access. So you can see where I've been playing around in the system, where I've been and what I've been doing there. But
I think that's a great functionality.
I do too. Thanks for saying that. So I'm going to open up the stored searches here at the top. There was a little plus sign. Now you can see that they've opened. And what you can see here is my searches. So these are my own personal queries here that I've added. And then community searches. And the community searches are good for establishing maybe a process for the team so that everybody's querying the same way, getting the same results. And it's part of what you do repeatedly for a process for the team. So when you select a community search, let's take a look at outpatient PAs today. And I
Angela,
select,
you
yeah,
you got a question.
okay.
Yeah.
Hard for me to see, so please jump
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
just, I was going to let you go, but during the demo, just if you could point out where the users have to go to QNext instead of View 360 and how that's kind of changed, as the upgrade goes forward, what they would do in QNext and what they would do in View.
Okay, so what I'm demonstrating today is work in QNext. I can show you how to get into Administrator. It'll take me a minute. That's a separate login for me, but it should be, yeah, this is
think
the demo
Angela-
environment. So, yes.
Angela, my question was, do users have to go to QNext or can they do everything in View 360?
I would say that for the most part, the View 360 solution is going to meet all of your needs. I mean, outside of Process Manager, I think everything you need to do that you are doing in QNext today would be done in View 360. So what we designed in View 360 is a replica of what happens in QNext. So I don't see any reason. There's a couple of reasons when we're talking about claims or claims reso, but not for auth. I think auth is everything in View 360.
And it
Alrighty,
looks
go
looks
ahead.
like we have Luke has his hand raised. Luke, you have a
Sure.
question?
So I can see on the screen that it says like a member ID towards the top there. Usually what we do with the PA is we will open it in PM5 where it has all of our clinical information, and it will have like the authorization number and the member's ID, and then we will take the member's ID and copy and paste it into QNext to search for that specific member and all of their information. Where it says member ID up there, if we were to put a member ID in there, would it take us directly to that member and we would be able to see like their eligibility and all their PAs so that we could find the PA that we're looking for? Or would we rather search for the PA number itself? Because I see that it also has like an authorization ID section
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. So you have the latitude to do either. So if you're going to do a member ID search here, you would click this little spyglass and it brings up this pop-out box for you. And you have these data elements to search for. So if we put in a member's name here, and I'm just going to put in a partial name and select search, I'm going to get search results back. And if I select this member here, it's going to pull that member data back into this query. And when I submit the query, it's added to my search results. So I had applied the outpatient PA. So we're looking for outpatient PAs for this member. And they return results right below. So here's your search result return. And you can see that there are 2 authorizations for that member that are outpatient type. Does
Okay,
that make sense?
and from here, after
Mhm.
searching the member, how would we look at their eligibility?
So that's a separate, if you come down here to the search results, and you can see this little pop-out window here,
Hmm.
that's going to open the member tile and take us out to the member information. So here's your member demographics and contact information, addresses. And then as you move along, you have your benefits for this member on their enrollment. So this member happens to be enrolled in behavioral health waivers. So here's the information that they have here regarding if they were in a lock-in, if there were any external enrollments on this member's record. There are claims here. Here's your financials. You click authorizations. Here are all the authorizations for that member and their auth type there. And then status here too. If one's in process, it looks like others are approved. It's your clinical profile, if there is one for the member. Oops. So sorry. And here's any documents for this member. So there's some correspondence there, and then any messages or calls.
Okay, and then if we were to like click on the X for this page, the previous page would be just right behind it.
Yep, this is a pop-out window that we popped out. So to close this window, you select there and you go right back to where you were.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Angela, Darlene has a question.
Okay.
Yes, so when you go into your recent records
Yes.
that you've already been into, can you automatically edit any changes that you need to make?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and open one that I was in recently. And you see it opens it in a pop-out window. So this is, we're going to cover this, but we'll cover it now since I selected this one. So this pop-out window opens, and here's a warning bar that tells you that this authorization is in use by a claim. So any changes to this authorization are going to be limited to extension of the PA date range, changes to units or budget that do not impact the claim, and the addition of new service lines. So it's telling you, I'm not going to let you modify this authorization that will invalidate this claim match, is basically what it's telling you. So we say, okay, we got it. We got a claim in process here. And it opens in the or opens the authorization in the authorization front page. So let's take a look here at what we have. So you start with the member information at the top, and there's some enrollment information beneath that. Here's the request information. So just some high level, this is header level information, right? Here's a disposition, if there was one, a disposition reason attached. Some summary information about the auth. It's one line, it's got 4 units, and there's one used, right? So that was that claim we saw. Here's the provider information, and then here's your detail. And here's where you can edit your auth settings. So this is your header level information with these are, the regular things you're used to seeing in a horizontal bar. So you have your accident and pregnancy information, diagnosis information here, surgical procedures, if this were an institutional authorization, revenue codes. Here's your CPTs for this authorization. So there you can see we're authorizing alcohol and drug services for intensive outpatient. It's been approved. There are 4 units. There's no frequency on this one, but could be. Here's NDCs if you're authorizing medication, dental services if there were a dental auth, any documents attached. And then if there were any notes, here's where you'd see your clinical and non-clinical notes. And those are, as they are today, those are just based on user permissions, what you can see.
Darlene, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Luke has a question?
go Luke.
Yes. After seeing the little pop-up saying that certain things can't be done because there's currently a claim on it.
Mhm.
There are times where if we get a PA that comes in, as an example, it comes in under PT, but it's meant to be OT. Usually we can change that, but if there's a claim attached to it, we can't change the PA type, and then we have to cancel it and let the provider know that they need to resubmit. So in a situation like that, would we not be able to change the disposition and cancel or close this PA because a claim is currently pending on it?
That's a really good question, and I should know that answer. I saw Teresa's on the line. Teresa, it's the functionality is the same today. We didn't change that functionality. So, um, I believe what you're saying, you would follow the same process you do today.
Okay.
Is that, yeah. And
And
Teresa,
I
by all
mean,
means, if I'm saying something wrong, jump in because it's been,
Right.
I
So,
started years
right.
ago in Maine, but it's been a while. So,
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you repeat what the question was again, Luke?
so there was a pop-up that said that there was like a claim currently on this PA
Yep.
and certain changes couldn't be made.
Yep.
Um, there's times where we get a PA that we need to work on and they submit a claim to it, but it needs to be canceled because it came in as the wrong type. If it comes in as the wrong type and there's a claim, we can't change the PA type ourselves. So we have to instead cancel it and close it and let the provider know that, you submitted a claim to this. That's why we couldn't change it. It came in wrong. You'll need to resubmit. Is that one of the things that's going to be limited when that pop-up window comes up saying that there is currently a claim attached to it and certain things can't be changed?
Correct. Yes, exactly. It will be the same functionality as
yeah.
today where we can't invalidate, a process claim against the PA. So for instance, say a claim was denied, like you said, because it was the wrong type of prior authorization and they try to update it, but we've already denied the claim because of it. We can't, for auditing purposes, we can't fix the PA so that it looks like it's now a match.
Okay, so
Because then
it's
it would,
so
go ahead.
that's saying that we can't invalidate an approved one. So as long as the claim is pending or denied, we can still make those changes.
As long as the claim is not in a finalized status, so it can't be in a paid status with a denied line or a denied claim.
Okay. All
Yep.
right, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Great.
Okay. Hi, Teresa. This is Stacy. If I can just
Sure.
piggyback to what Luke is kind of talking about. So we have this kind of unique thing in OT and PT where our CPT codes are the same for each discipline, and the system doesn't recognize when it's being pulled off an OT auth versus a PT auth. So sometimes what happens is that it'll accidentally be approved as a PT auth, even like for that template, but it really is an OT. But the system will pay it correctly, but we sometimes have to go in at a later date. It doesn't happen often. We don't make those mistakes often. But sometimes it just happens. And I feel like, I mean, I don't have a PA that I can reference off the top of my head, but I have been able to cancel those ones, even though they have had paid claims on them, and create a new PA with the new template type. I don't know if that makes more sense to you, if I'm just confusing things more, but
You
essentially it's that CPT code for OT and PT. It's the same
right.
code. The system doesn't recognize it. Sometimes providers will use a modifier, but sometimes they don't, and it doesn't matter. It still gets paid.
So you can still close a PA, like, so say you have a claim that's referencing a PA, a specific PA, and you realize something was wrong and you need to issue a new one. You can close the existing PA and authorize a new one under the correct codes or PA type.
Okay, so I think that's what Luke was asking. If the one
Yeah.
that has a paid claim on it, will we have the ability to close it?
Yes, you will be able to close it.
Okay,
It just means moving forward, nothing will pay against it.
correct. And
It'll post a claim edit saying, you know, I don't exactly know what the claim edit it is, but there is one that says, you know, your
okay.
authorization is closed.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's what
Yep.
Luke was trying to get answered, is if it could
Okay.
actually be closed with an approved, pay or a paid claim on it.
Yep. Yep.
Does that answer your question, Luke?
Yes, and I mean, I also saw on that page that it showed how many units were approved and how many were used, so that's going to be accurate based on claims.
Correct.
Okay, that's going to
Yeah,
help
and
us with updates a lot.
that is that reserve process. So if a claim reserves a unit, like you can see this claim, and this is the one we were warned about, it's in adjudicated status, so it's not finalized, but it has reserved a unit. So that's so that other claims can't come through and overextend the authorization. So that's still in place. So I'm going to bounce back to where we were.
Angela, Kim has a question.
Go ahead.
So when Kim and I, church, do PDNs, we do a lot of transferring of units through the PAs. And when you get a pop-up like that, does it freeze it so we can't do any transfer of units?
No, unless it invalidates the match. So if you take away units and one is reserved, and it won't let you take away more than what's already been used or reserved. But if there are units available to transfer or you add units, you're perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't see anybody else, Angela.
Okay. So we talked a minute about stored searches and how to do those. We checking my notes here. So we saved search criteria. We looked at some recent records, and now we're inside an authorization. So here's where you'll be working. This is where we talked about this header information here, but as you move along this horizontal bar here, and let me point out at the top, you see your header information at the top as well. So your auth ID, your auth type, your member information, and then the to and from dates, or excuse me, from and to dates in auth, and then your status. So this is an approved status. You can edit that information, and here's your edit bar, so you can, or edit selection, so that you can go in and you can see with the red asterisk which fields will be required when you make any modifications, right? So, and as you go along, you can change those things. Some things will gray out. Things you cannot change will be grayed. There's nothing you can do on this auth to change the requesting or refer to provider. It's the information that you're allowed to change will be available to you. Moving into edits and actions. I don't know at this time if you guys are using the auth validate functionality. I believe when we went live, we were not using that. But as you move forward, it may make sense to start using auth validate. And that's an efficiency that we see. It's a best practice that we use, but it really depends on the other configuration. So your contract and benefit configuration. And that may occur. Yeah.
Luke has a question.
So going back to editing that header, where it shows the refer to, refer from, refer to, there's often times where a provider will not put the correct person in there. They'll put both the referring from, and there are times where we need to change the refer provider. Actually, almost every single PA we need to change the refer to provider, because they don't put the correct one there. That usually it'll both be the requesting provider. Um, so, I mean, moving forward, how would we be able to change that? Because usually in QNext, we need to get the NPI number. We type in results in the refer to, which brings up the window for us to type in the correct NPI number to make sure that it's going to the correct provider.
Right. And you can do that provided you have not already a match to a claim, because the provider match piece would invalidate, right? So if you have already matched to a claim, then you'd have to follow whatever process you follow today, right? So as long as it doesn't invalidate the claims it's already matched to, you have access to change that.
Okay, I thought you had said that if it was grayed out, we couldn't change it.
This authorization that we are in right now has matched to a claim.
Okay, so it's already been approved. Okay.
Yep. And you can see your status is approved and you have a match. So that information would not be editable at this time. Now, if this were an authorization that was in process or had not yet matched to a claim, then you would have access to those fields.
Okay.
So it's the safeguard for claim, right? So we've matched to a claim, we've decremented a unit, and we're not going to allow any activity that would interrupt that process or invalidate what we've done.
Okay.
That's for
you.
auditing purposes too, for claims. So,
Yes.
all right. So moving back to the edit and action tab. So if you are using auth validate, this step is basically for any of you who have used auth validate, you get an edit log. It's like if you've looked at the step edits in claim, it's basically the same thing. It runs the authorization and then comes back with the information that it finds. What's payable, what term it's found, calculates the benefit amounts. Here's your code set that was selected and gives you a little bit of information about that. The primary care is not required. There's not a network benefit. So basically runs through what claims do in step edits, tells you that there are 4 visits remaining. So this is what was true at the time this authorization was validated. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today because I'm not sure you're using that functionality. If and when you do, it's there. It's pretty handy. If there were any edits, if something popped up here and said, hey, wait a minute, this isn't going to fly, then you're going to see that here in your edits tab. And it's going to tell you what you need to do.
Angela?
Uh-huh.
Deborah has a question.
Hi.
Deborah. Oh, okay.
Hi. So something that that I do for the type of authorization I do many times all day long, how the prior authorization, the type that comes in is incorrect. They come in as professional services and we have to change them to outpatient all day long. Could you show us how we would change the template type?
Sure, we can get to that. I think we're going to do some editing a little bit further down
Okay.
here, but yeah, we'll absolutely get to that where we can update and edit an auth either in the header or detail.
Okay.
And we've talked about, a little bit about how that works with the claim attached. So I think everybody understands that. let me show you real quick this bar here so that I think most of this makes a lot of sense to you just in your dated work. If there were attributes for this auth, they would show here. Here's your associated claim. That's the guy that's tripping us up with what we can and cannot edit there, excuse me. Here's your memos and alerts. Again, this member has a lock-in record, so that's important to know. And then any call history or audit records. I don't know if you guys use the audit tables, but this is kind of handy. If you need to search audit to see what's happened with this authorization, here's all the audits available for this auth. And then if you only wanted to see perhaps the updates, you could search updates only, and then it returns that information for you. Some of you may use this, many may not, so we won't spend a lot of time there. I'm going to go ahead and close this authorization because this was one that was attached to a claim, and we're going to return back to this home screen for auth here. Let's take a minute and look at the work queue. We'll just look at this briefly before we move into editing. So when you open your work queue, here's the authorizations that are assigned to you. So you can see here what you've got going on in your queue, what the status is of those things. And then at the bottom of the screen, all of the queues. And I know these don't look like yours, or maybe they do, but this shows what's waiting where. So in the medical review RN queue, there are 2 authorizations here that are not assigned. So they need somebody to work these. So you can see that those are there. It just gives you a quick view of what's going on. It's a little bit different than the supervisor view, which we'll move to here. Oh, and I should say, I'm sorry, I left that a little early. You do have a filter here for your own assignments as well. So if you open this filter, and I think, Luke, this is one of the things that we had talked about previously, you can search your own work too, filter what you want to see. If it makes it easier for you to only look at a certain type, if you're responsible for multiple types, you can just say, I just want to see the outpatients for now. Select that filter, and then your My Authorizations filter to only those. So you can work what you're working when you're working without switching hats. And then we'll look at the supervisor queue just briefly. Basically, this is demo, so we don't have all of this data filled out, but here's a little graph that shows the average days in queue. What authorizations are under review is right up here. What's going on for the team. You can look by, it says company here, but these can be sorted by, say you want to look at Department of Corrections only, or however those are configured in your environment today, you would see those here. And then you can see by who's assigned. So if we look at the ones that are assigned to me, it's like, oh my goodness, she's got a lot going on here. And maybe there's too many, so the supervisor, whoever has supervisor permissions, could select that authorization and then reassign it. Let's say I'm not doing my work very well, so we'll give this one to Cindy, and we'll save that, and it routes that into Cindy's queue and out of mine. So that's just a quick overview of this screen for people who have permissions to do that work. But we're going to go back to the search screen and do a little editing. And I think I'm going to try to find an authorization that's not attached. So let's go to this one. Okay, no pop-up. So we didn't get an alert here that we had a claim attached. And you can see if we went to associated claims, there's no records found for this. This authorization is in process. So here's where you can do any of your editing that you need to, any detail down here, and any header up here. So someone had asked, I think, was it Diana? Do you want to direct us through this and let me know what you want to see, or do you want to just
Deborah.
Or Deborah, excuse me, I'm sorry. Where did you want to work? Where do you want to see this? Is it the detail that you want to change, like CPT services, or did you want to
What I would
edit
like
header?
to change is I would like to change the template type, the type of PA. So we typically, most of our PAs, I would say 2/3 of them come in as professional services, and we have to change them to outpatient.
Okay. So here we edit at the header level, and you can see here that this type was listed as other. Let's say you want to move that to outpatient. You select your template here. And what's going to happen is by selecting this, your header level data fields will change, right? So then you get new selections you need to make. So we've changed this to an outpatient template. Now we have to select the outpatient category as well. So we'll just select this one. They don't mean anything. Like I said, this is just demo information. And then you select your template there. So your type is outpatient, your category we chose was DCF outpay. We don't even know what that is. And then your template is outpatient. That might change some of the information you need to add in here. It may not. It looks like we need to refer to facility selected here. Well, actually, that's not required. So maybe that provider doesn't have that. And then down here at the bottom, you can save that record. Oops, it says we need to select a specialty. Can't save it yet. So we need to clear those edits before we can keep moving.
So Deborah, did
Mm.
that answer your question on the how to change? How to edit?
It did. With what I do out of state prior authorizations, and we change almost everything. We change the type. We remove codes that they put on. So CPT codes that they've added, oftentimes are being removed, and then we add our own. So there's definitely a lot of editing. We also find that if you remove a code that that you have to go all the way to, you have to validate, and then when you validate, then it changes your decision from approved to denied, and then you have to go back and then you have to change that and then validate a second time. So I think we're kind of hoping that this will be more streamlined, there'll be less going backwards to fix things.
So the processes are going to remain very similar to what you do today. Some of that can be streamlined. I think if you're having most or a majority of your authorizations come in wrong with the wrong header record, we probably need to take a look at what's going on there, how those are being created. Maybe you've got stuff out there you don't need, or we need to somehow direct that process to correct that process for you, and we can
Well,
take a
that's the
look at that.
submitter. I mean, those are coming in that way
Yeah,
because the submitter is selecting, and with out of
yeah,
state, I mean, that is such a vast,
yeah.
vast population. Like it's nearly impossible to keep them trained or versed in how we need the PA to come in.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Stacy.
think Deb,
yeah,
what you're talking about, Deb, is it like where we have to like go back and next a bunch in order to change stuff in QNext, and then we have to like
yeah. Walk through
save
those
each
steps.
page.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Mhm.
with this, it looks like a lot of it's already on one page, so we can change multiple things and then save without like, because QNext has like 18 different pages
it
that we
does.
have to
Those
like
wizards.
save individually. This looks like it's all on one page. We can do all of it at once and then do one save. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That
That's
sounds
absolute
wonderful.
efficiency. So you have, like, if you were going to change a code here, you can change all of these data elements at once and save.
Awesome.
And can we also select multiple CPT codes at once and delete them all at the same time? Because in PT and OT, and I know it's like this in other queues as well, we don't use the actual CPT codes that they send in. We have our own
Yep.
modalities that
Grouping.
we put in.
Yes.
Right. So, but usually we have to click on each individual one, delete, click, delete, click, delete. Can we
Well,
select
then
all of
you
them?
are going to love service groups. So service groups are what we call our best practice solution. And service groups takes all of those. So you say, I need all of these modalities in one group, and you add that service group, it's a single click. You click the group. You're not selecting individual codes. You're like, I need this set of codes. This is what I'm going to use each time. That's what you're going to add to the authorization instead of single codes.
Right, we
So
do
it's,
that, but
yes, but
when the
it's, go
provider
ahead, Stacy.
submits
Oh, okay.
electronically, they submit with all the CPT codes individually because they don't have access to add our service group.
Gotcha. Okay, so they may add or request several
10,
different
12
individual codes.
CPT codes that have to be deleted off the PA before we add the service group.
Ooh, yeah. I'm not sure about that. I
So if we were to
believe,
like delete
yeah.
a CPT code, would we have
Mhm.
to click on that little radio button and then hit delete for each individual one? Or can we select multiple CPT codes at once to delete all of them?
Cindy, do you know how that works? I'm thinking that what you do is select all of the radio buttons and then select delete service. You wouldn't have to select one, select one, delete. You'd select the ones you want to and hit the delete.
Actually, right now with the radio button, it is one at a time.
It's one at a time. Okay,
it
so we don't
is.
have a
Yep.
multi-search on
We
radio
don't
button.
have a
Okay.
multi-select here at this time, but it
Boy,
doesn't
that
mean
would
we
be
can't.
handy.
It doesn't mean we can't take it back and add it to a future release, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
be
be a
very
really
helpful.
handy
Yeah,
feature.
let me take a note on that, Luke, and I'll get it to the product team and we'll discuss it.
Yeah,
I
Tracy's
believe
been,
Tracy has a question.
Yeah, so I just want to speak to what we're looking at right now, and I want to clarify because currently, like Deb said, in our out-of-state queue, most of our requests come in, they're not made to the correct provider. And so even if there's a claim against the PA, I can still change it to, for example, Boston Children's Hospital. So what you're saying in this program is that if there's a claim, we wouldn't be able to change it to the correct provider. I just wanted to clarify that piece.
Only, so basically what I'm saying, and it's what you do today, is that if what you change would invalidate the match that has already occurred, then the system's going to stop you. It's going to stop you. You're going to have to make a modification to the auth that doesn't invalidate that match in a finalized claim. So if we've already matched, we've already decremented services, we've already determined pay or deny in a claim based on the auth, then that process stops. You're either going to have to close that auth and offer or open a new one. There's probably a claims reso process, I would guess, Teresa, to adjust the claim. I'm not sure how that works today, but I'm guessing that would remain the same. That remains the same, and that's for claims auditability. So, um, we can't pay a claim and then change the data that's attached to that claim that would invalidate the reason why we allowed the payment. If that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Well, I just want to make sure we can still, because most of our
Yeah.
requests do not come in to the correct provider. And by the time
Mhm.
we open a request, a lot of them already have claims against them. So I just want to make
Oh,
sure we'd
gotcha.
be able to change it to the correct refer to.
Yes,
But
you
are
would.
these,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say,
that's what it
it's really
sounded like
about
we wouldn't be able to, so.
No, you would.
Okay,
yeah, it's really about,
perfect.
is the claim finalized?
Yep.
It's because, for instance, edit 618 on a claim would deny a claim line if the authorization was for the wrong provider. And like you said, they might have submitted the auth and it was under the wrong person who actually provided the service. So in that case, as long as the claim wasn't finalized, you would be able to make that update and then work with a claims team member to clear the claim edit and re-adjudicate the claim so that the 618 dropped off the claim, but the claim could not be finalized. It can't be in a denied status or a paid status, meaning it was finalized.
Okay, because like, for example, currently, like if we have like an inpatient stay at Mass General, if it's faxed into us by the time we open it, it's not made to Mass General, so I have to change it. And there's always claims against these PAs that could be denied claims on there, but it still lets me change it to the correct refer to. And so I guess what you're saying is we can still do the same process that we're doing currently.
Right. Anything you're
Okay.
doing now, you can still do. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make
Exactly.
sure. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. All
looks like we're
right.
good, Angela.
Okay. So moving back down to what we were doing here, here's your modifications to your line. You can add a frequency here. You can add units, you can extend your dates, you can add a decrement from budget. I don't know if you're doing that now. I know that came in after your current version, but may have been patched back. where you can set a budget amount for the authorization. Say there's $500 available. It will decrement until those dollars are gone and that budget is used. And then basically then any claims after that get the there's no units available. Your budget's gone.
Angela, looks like Deborah has another question for us.
Okay. This
So
is great.
sorry to be to ask pepper you with so many questions.
No, please do.
I have to tell you, this is really very valuable. I'm glad I'm attending and watching this because I have so many questions. So something else that we do all day long is that we'll get a request and they'll ask us for certain codes, maybe surgical codes, for instance. We don't really want to add all these individual surgical codes or radiology codes. So we want to be able to see what's in the grouping, what's included. So we go in and we open the groupings and we search for the code that we want. And then if we don't need to have it added individually, we'll either not add it if it's faxed, a fax request, or we remove it if it was sent in electronically. So how do we search it for our groups and what is in it?
So you're asking about searching in service groups?
Yes.
And I would love to be able to show you that.
This is
Go ahead, Cindy.
Cindy. And if you want to scroll down to the bottom,
Sure.
yeah, you can add service group. Select your service code category. No, that's service groups. Yeah.
Yep.
Just select
Sure.
anything you want.
We'll just choose this one today.
And there's your code sets.
Okay, and then we can just search. And the way they search now, it's not easy to search. I can't just put a code in. I have to either start at the beginning or start at the end. And then correct. I have to go page after page after page, and it can be really quite time consuming.
So if you not in this session right now, or maybe towards the end, if you want, there was a session done on configuration a few days ago. It feels like it's been a while, but I did a very lengthy session on configuration. Okay. So there's a configuration view tile at the very top of your screen. And then there's reference data as well as benefits and contracts, and you'll be able to see service groups in there and do a search. So you might get an idea through there.
Okay, and then of course we do search contracts all day long as well. We
so
go
that,
and we
yeah,
that's where we go.
Yeah. So if you want to watch that one, it went into quite a bit of detail of what's in benefits pricing and rules and fee schedules and things like that. So some of that reference data is going to be valuable to you.
Okay, and which one was this, so I can write it down to ask to see it later?
I'm not sure the number of the session because it was Monday morning this week.
That was
Yeah, configuration.
Session 3, yeah.
Thank you.
Session 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. How are we feeling about that? Was there anything else we wanted to look at in terms of editing? No.
I did want to make a point that I saw like the work queue earlier, just to let everyone know that we probably won't be using work queue because we use PM5 for all of our queued stuff. I know that seemed kind of daunting with assignments and everything for us. Our team doesn't have particular things assigned to them. We just have our own queues in general that we work in, and then we go in line by submission date. So we probably won't see particular PAs assigned to us, but we'll be still doing all of our getting all of our documents and everything through PM5. And this is just basically what we're going to be doing the way that we would do in QNext. This is how we're going to be using this program.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever works for you.
So this is Stacy again, and I work in the PT/OT. So one of the functionalities that we use is when we open up a a document, we have like this sidebar of like, I don't know, like categories, main, notes, diag, services, edits, actions, claims. And we have this tab that says miscellaneous. And when we click that miscellaneous, like especially and it's for our electronic submissions, it'll give us like a submitter name, the submitter telephone number, It'll give us like a refer to pay to, and we use that MPI a lot to change the refer to. Where is that in this
So
interface?
is this work you do in Process Manager or process or in QNext?
In QNext. So when we open up the doc, we'll get like we'll get categories on the side of the, and I can only go by like what I'm used to using. I'm trying to see, but
Yeah.
we have a miscellaneous tab. And when we click that miscellaneous tab, it gives us the submitter information. It'll give us their trading partner number. It'll give us the telephone number. It'll actually give us the submitter name, because we can't see that on an electronic request, like a fax request. When we open that up in PM5, like it's all handwritten, and we can see who the submitter was and the telephone number to reach them if we have a question. But on an electronic request in PM5, that's housed over in QNext under that miscellaneous tab.
Gotcha.
Does anyone know what I'm
Uh,
talking about? We use it a lot in
Yeah.
PTOT,
So
but
what she's basically, it's once we open up a PA, so like we're in a PA right now in View 360, is there anywhere on here to see information regarding specific to this PA on the provider that submitted it, their specific NPI number, the person who submitted it at that office, and a contact phone number for that office? That's what's in the miscellaneous tab that we have in QNext right now. That's something that I haven't even thought about this whole time, Stacy. So thank you for bringing that up.
that's okay.
Um, but when we're in a PA like this, is there any way to view that specific information for this PA?
so this is the miscellaneous information from QNext. Cindy, do you know where we house that here?
It's actually not in View 360 at this time.
Okay.
The only
Okay.
thing we do have is under Edit and Action, the ability to see the source. So you get the source of how the auth came in, but it won't give you the information that you were just describing, Luke. So, however, it is still in Administrator or QNext.
Is that something that we can
So
have added into the program somehow, like
it
funneling
is,
from QNext? Because
yeah, I
I
mean,
wouldn't
all
want
of
to like
this,
have to open up multiple
of
programs on top of
course,
what we already
yeah,
do.
that's right. That's not our goal, right? Our goal is to look at this information. So knowing how you use it during implementation, those types of notes can be taken back to the product team for
Great.
review, for sure. Okay, so that,
Okay.
and then that will have to get assessed, whether or not it will be added or what release, if so, what it would be in, and we'll let you know.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
because if
thank
they
you.
could, like that top bar up here where it shows like authorization edits and everything, if
Mhm.
they're capable of adding another tab at the end that just
Mhm.
says miscellaneous that has that information, if you need an example, I could always take a screenshot
Oh,
of that tab and
no,
send it to you.
I have it, Luke, thank you. But yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make sure I transfer that over to the product team for you.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
Angela, Darlene has a question.
Yes.
Yes, on that first page, it showed how many PAs you've worked on. I was wondering, we use Access to track a monthly, all the PAs that we've done. Does this system track all the PAs that we've done for what period of time? Does it have that ability so that we wouldn't have to use another system?
I believe you're talking
Assign.
about an ad hoc report, right? Or
It's
is that
I think you can search by the assigned to if they want to see that.
So
If you want
she's
to
talking
just,
about ones that we've already processed. So when we do a PA, we do the PA, whatever we're doing on it. I do what we call flipping, which is I get the PA ready for the nurse. Um, and I put in the notes like what they're asking. And then after we've done what we need to do on a PA, we have a tracker where we put in the PA number, what we did on it, and like the person who did it and the date
right,
that we did it. So does this have the capability to track already processed like PAs that have already had something done on them?
is if it's assigned to a person, you should be able to select that information under the assigned to in the search and pull back everything that had every authorization assigned to that person in whatever status it was.
So where we don't have PAs assigned to us per se,
Right.
is there some capability to have it assigned to us once we open it? And then I'm not sure how that works.
But it will
Once you-
change assignment, Luke, because after you do what you do, I go in and I reassign it to myself. So I don't think that
Right.
I think you guys are like on a rabbit hole that's not gonna
Yeah.
produce what you want.
So
Y-
this is Teresa. So I just want to make sure you're talking about you're trying to get an idea of the volume of prior authorizations being completed in a monthly span by each nurse, correct?
Correct.
Each
So
person, really,
yeah.
yeah. Because
So
I'm not a nurse, but I
right.
go in and do certain things for
Yep.
the nurses before they
Yeah,
get in
each
there.
approver, right.
So it's not part of this, but there are reports available in an SSRS report manager that should provide that information of finalized prior authorizations, who did what
Okay.
for the
Right, but
for a
Luke,
date span.
But I
right, but
don't
Luke never
finalize most.
takes our auths to like a final
Got it.
component, like
So yeah, I don't think there's any existing functionality
exactly.
reports that gives that detail, that type of detail. It's always about the end result.
Right.
Okay.
That
I
final
mean,
status flip, because it doesn't, those reports don't track like updates that when we go in and update PAs, like add units and things like that, because
Correct.
we're not
It's
changing
just
the status.
right. It's just
yeah.
audit history.
So it sounds like we would still need that outside tracker, Darlene, but Corey is working on one right now that is better than Access. So that's something that we'll have. But going through that process also reminded me of something else. When we're in a PA like we are now, where would we go to be able to enter in a note on the PA? Because normally, um, nurses have to put in clinical information and what they're doing, and then we have a clinical and non-clinical section. So the clinical is only we see it. The non-clinical, the provider can see. So like what I do is I make sure that all the CPT codes are correct, that the grouping is there, all the diags are correct. I make sure that they meet all the criteria for it to be approved, and if not, I cancel it or deny it. And then I will go into the notes section. Okay, I see you going there now.
Yep.
Clinical non. Okay, awesome. So how would we, okay, so I'm assuming right there where it says add note, that's we would click on the radio and then we would click on add note and then we could type something in. Okay.
Yeah, so what I just showed you here was I'm adding a clinical note. If I wanted to add a non-clinical note, you select the add note button here and you could type in this field.
Okay, awesome.
Radials are reversed, guys.
Yeah, they're
Oh, are they?
backwards, but
So you normally see non-clinical and then clinical. Well, there you
Correct.
go. Yeah. And then so you've got your clinical notes here, non-clinical notes here, and those are same permissions as they are today in terms of who can see what. Those are all set up in your user
oh,
roles and activities.
so can we do a clinical and a non-clinical at the same time and then
Yes, you
save and it will
can.
save both of them?
Correct.
That's very helpful. Because usually we have to go to clinical, save, then go to non-clinical, put in
Well, there you
save.
go. One less step there. I was going to show you too, it was on the list. This ellipsis up here will show you how to get out to letter manager, your task manager, document manager to add a call, those kind of things. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, this works. Sometimes it does in demo, sometimes not so much. But here we go. So
With the
this is a,
letters,
mhm.
we normally do our letters through PM5 because it will put us exactly on the PA that we're working on. Would we be able to do, because this is exactly what our letters already look like in PM5.
Mhm.
When we have a PA open, a specific PA at the top, there will be a letter icon that we click on and it will take us to this page. So would we not have to do that in PM5 anymore? Could we just
You
do it
could do
straight
that
from here?
here. You could do that
Okay.
here. Yeah. So like what I just did there, I opened that ellipsis, selected add a letter, brings me out to Syncom Eloquence. We're in demo, so we have member letters and provider letters, but you could have auth letters here too as well, and then create those here from the templates that you have. And you know how that all works. So yep, that link works there, and then it brings that letter back in here. And when you go back to your authorization, there's a link to that letter. It's attached to this this authorization.
Okay,
So you'd have
awesome.
the option to do either. It would work in Process Manager as it does today, or it would work from View 360 as well.
Okay, I would definitely recommend that the team still use it in PM5 because if we accidentally open the wrong PA in here, when we're doing it in PM5, it'll be the correct PA that we're in. But if we click on, because I mean, I know that especially for me and everybody else, sometimes those numbers jumble together. If we do it here, we might send a letter to the wrong PA. But if we're doing it in PM5, we're always going to be on that correct PA because we're going to already have it open.
Yeah, and however you decide to do that, whichever way is most efficient for you, that's absolutely up to your discretion.
Yeah, Luke, I assume you're going to be like in the RVS sessions around prior auth, things on that lines, because one of the things that that the team will do is literally go through all the different use cases and everything, and I think that's going to be extremely helpful in kind of revising your DLPs on what makes sense, right, on how you engage with this and what optimizes your particular, work activities, and how your organization does it. So we're in the demo session right now, but I think the information that you're talking about and how you actually do work is critical to make sure that when we do enable this type of UI and some other transparency, that um, we understand how to leverage it best with your entire like work stream and everything. Um, so appreciate it, and hopefully you're going to be intimately engaged in those sessions.
Yes, anything relating to the prior authorization team or what we might do, I would greatly appreciate to be included on those sessions so that I can, get a better feel of everything. I feel like this session has definitely brought up a lot of questions that everyone have. I want to thank everyone for coming to this session. I really appreciate it. You guys asked questions that I couldn't even think of. But any future sessions that you guys might have specifically for PA, I would love to be on those.
And Angela, just a time check. We have about 15 minutes left. So,
Okay. So that's it. That being that we're coming towards the end of the session, is there anything else that anybody needs to see today that I can demonstrate regarding how you work these? Or is there any screen you'd just like to take a look at again and see if there's questions or if anything makes sense to you? We didn't cover the alerts and notifications, but you see this on every screen. If you open this, you can see that this member has an active case. So you get an alert that there's a case open on this member as well, so that when you're coordinating with case management or adding an authorization, that those things stay aligned. It would also show you if there were any notifications, any problems with premium, if they were a buy-in or anyone had premiums, and then any chronic disease diagnosis stuff that's in there as well. You see these alerts and notifications on all of the View 360 screens, and it's relevant to what you're doing, the process that you're doing at that time. So,
early on, somebody asked about creating a PA.
yeah.
Would we have time to show that?
Well, we showed it in session 2, and we went through quite a bit. It takes a little bit of time to do one. I'm not sure
Okay.
we have time to do that today, but if you watch the notes or watch the recording on session 2, we walk through creating an auth. And by all means, if you watch these previously recorded sessions and have any questions at all, please feel free to submit those. I think, is that through Roger or Rick? I'm not sure. And then they get those over to us and we can answer those in writing for you as well.
That was done in the case management piece of session 3. Is that right?
That was actually in session 2 when we did the
Oh,
original prior authorization
gotcha.
session. There's
Okay.
an add authorization button here that brings up a blank template for you basically, and you step through this information, and you create your header information here, select your template, your category, all those things, find your member through the search member bar here. You select enrollment from the member, so whatever that enrollment information comes back, you select the program that you're looking for. Here's your request information, so your dates. Select your disposition. I don't know that I have any configured in this environment, but I know you use disposition there. Here's appeals and reconsiderations. We haven't talked about that, but if an authorization goes into an appeal for a denied auth, then that information is tracked in here. Here's your provider information, again with your looking glass, so you can go out to those search areas and find your auth requests and refer to. There's the facility piece. I know you guys have a complicated service group configuration in Maine. We're hoping to simplify that and streamline it should we move forward. We do have a lot of best practice solutions in place now with, you know, another 12 years of experience and history where we can streamline some of those processes and make those easier for you. And then here's your detail, and you'd walk through adding your diagnosis, CPTs, NDC if you're authorizing physician administered drugs. If you want a global document for a single event, here's a validation. If you want to auto validate, you can do that. So all of those fields are open to you when you select that create an auth. And it's all in this one screen. It makes it a little easier than those wizard steps. I understand wizards are supposed to be easy, but I'm telling you, 18 steps is a long wizard. That's a lot to think about and save and save and save and save. So we've tried to simplify that quite a bit here. One thing I would point out that when you're creating an auth, you won't be able to save it until you select a status. Even if that's in med review or in process, you have to set a status. So nothing will save, and you'll get a pop-up that tells you, tell me what you want to do with this. Where is this in the process? So that's handy.
Will we get
selection.
that pop-up before we transition to a new PA or that, hey, you didn't do anything with this?
Yeah, you do.
Um,
So if you select the save button, it's going to pop up here and say, hey, what's your status? Select the
Okay.
status for me. So that this queue's somewhere, right? It gets categorized somewhere.
Right.
And then, it's in that work queue as well.
Mhm.
So
Because
also
we
looks
do
like
have that
there's-
struggle where sometimes things are worked in the
Yeah.
queue and that overall status gets missed or whatever, and before we
Yep.
know it, we've kicked it going.
Yeah, and this will help alleviate that problem. It's like, tell
Okay.
me where I'm assigned right now. Where am I in the process? So
Yep, and it also has these red asterisks next to them, which shows that these are fields that are required in order to save it, I'm assuming.
yep, and those change with your template as we when we
Right.
did the edit before, when you select a different type of authorization, then these change as well. It's like what's required for this type of auth versus a different type of auth. So that's handy. It's very handy. All righty. Were there any other questions on that? I think we can go to the wrap up. If Maria, if you want to grab back, we can walk through the questions that we had or things we wanted to cover today. All righty. So we did have one submitted question initially, and we did cover that in session 2. There was a question regarding ensuring that the PA return data is accurate. We weren't exactly sure what that meant, but it sounded like something we would have to cover as a specific situation in the DDI. So if you're having a problem with submitting data, submitted data being returned appropriately, we would certainly need to look at that. As you know, and as we all know in this process, some of what is submitted is not what is returned. You have to correct those authorizations, or maybe this code was requested and you're like, yeah, not that one, but these. I don't know if that was what was referred to here, but in any case, this would be something we would look into specific situations in the DDI. So we did talk about how View 360 works. I hope that makes a lot more sense to you now. I know initially when we talked about that, there was some confusion about terminology. I hope that we've kind of showed you a little bit better about what those new things, what View 360 is versus what QNext is and what they do there, and then Process Manager and how that stays in place for you. We demonstrated work filters and searches. I love the fact that you can select more than one piece of data in a search. That doesn't happen in QNext today. You get one choice and that's what you get back. We did edit an authorization, so we updated and edit both at the header level and at detail level. We talked about approvals and denials. showed you where that happens on the line level. We showed that link out to SYNCOM, to your letter manager, and did talk about the fact that that stays in place from process manager as well. So however your team decides that works best for you and your DLP, then by all means, you have the latitude to determine where you want to do that. And then the last thing we had here was to demonstrate that member pop out to eligibility validation and benefit search. We had a lot of really good questions. I hope we were able to cover everybody's questions today and sort of demonstrate how this would work for you. And I know you sort of have to go along with what we have in the demonstration environment. There's not a lot in there that's specific to Maine, but I think you understand how that all would work. Were there any further questions that we can probably move to the next slide, Maria? Here's our little Q&A slide, just a lot of empty space for what you all have.
Mhm.
Any other questions maybe? Or if you think of something later, by all means, write those down and submit them. We're happy to return a response for you there.
And there's also the if you could send the survey link to me so that I could submit it in the group as well, so that they can take that. I've taken a few of the surveys. They also go into depth on any questions or concerns that you might have come up on the usability of the program. I also wanted to thank you guys for putting this on specifically for us. I really appreciate it. I also greatly appreciate my team coming and bringing up those questions as well. You guys had a lot of really good questions that I didn't think that I would be able to think of at the time. So, I mean, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate it.
Great. I'm glad that you see this as a good use of time today. That's important to us. Was there anything else before we wrap up?
Barb has a question in the chat, how to access the other sessions.
Okay.
So this is Rick. The sessions are going to be published on the intranet. Shannon Martin in communications is working on that. Luke Lester from OIT, who's on this call as well, is working with Shannon to make all those session recordings available to all of you. We'll let you know as soon as that's done.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Great. If there is nothing else, I believe that brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you all so much for attending. Great questions. I hope we were able to answer those for you and show you the efficiencies that we're bringing to this process for you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a good day.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
you too.
Thank you, everyone. All right,
Bye now.
bye-bye.